The film stars probably one of the best romantic comedy duos, Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler, starred in a movie titled 50 First Dates. Drew Barrymore's character named Lucy obtained a brain injury from a car accident, which ultimately affected her short-term memory. Lucy still has all her long-term memory, but she wakes up every day thinking it's October 13th of the previous year, right before her accident. Every single day, she basically relives the same day. Lucy's family and friends try to protect her from the harsh reality of her condition, keeping her retained long-term memory by reliving it at the moment, and tries to make life as simple as possible for her. Adam Sandler's character named Henry met Lucy at the local breakfast place and got love at first sight. The next day, when Henry approaches Lucy, she is unable to recognize him due to Lucy's memory and brain impairment. Henry spends the rest of the film trying to win over her condition by becoming significant in her life, making Lucy fall in love with him on a daily basis after realizing Lucy can't remember new things after her car accident. Lucy was told to suffer from Goldfield syndrome, which is only a fictional concept from the movie. But despite the false fictional, Lucy's condition is real, and known as a type of amnesia where she loses her short-term memory called anterograde amnesia. Anterograde amnesia is a type of memory loss that occurs when you can form new memories. Damage to the hippocampus can cause a condition called amnesia that prevents people from forming new memories and remembering past experiences.
Given that 50 First Date is a work of fiction, it is not surprising that some of the neuropsychological details of the movies are inaccurate. Yet, the film still serves as a useful starting point for understanding memory. In the movie, the temporal lobe is the part of the brain that is damaged with Lucy, which causes her to suffer from Goldfield syndrome. Though Goldfield syndrome is a fictitious neurological condition, Lucy's symptoms are somehow related or similar with anterograde amnesia and retrograde amnesia. Lucy is unable to recall the day of her accident, which is what retrograde amnesia is, the inability to recall the memories that were formed before the event that caused the accident. Retrograde amnesia does not usually affect the memories that is formed years ago, and only affect the recently stored past memories. Meanwhile, anterograde amnesia is a type of memory loss that occurs when an individual cannot form a new memories. And in some severe cases, anterograde amnesia causes permanently losing the ability to learn or retain any new memories or information, just like what Lucy suffered from in the movie. Anterograde amnesia is much more common than retrograde but is a temporary condition. But nonetheless, both conditions are pretty rare. Just like in the movie, there are possible causes of amnesia to occur. The possible causes of amnesia are divided into two categories: neurological and functional. Neurological amnesia can be a result from radiation, anoxia, thyroid problems, brain infections, or other conditions. Meanwhile, functional amnesia is more uncommon than neurological amnesia, and is a result of mental problems. Unlike neurological amnesia, functional amnesia does not appear to be caused by a recognized brain injury or disease, but rather by emotional trauma. Usually, functional amnesia are retrograde amnesia, but in some severe cases, patients can forget their whole identity.
So, referring to the last question, what amnesia is and what part of the brain is responsible for this? First off, we'll determine what amnesia is. So, amnesia refers to the loss of memories, including facts, information, experiences. Movies and television tend to depict amnesia as forgetting your identity. But that's not generally the case in real life. Instead, people with amnesia, also called amnestic syndrome, usually know who they are, but they may have trouble learning new information and forming new memories. Amnesia can be caused by damage to areas of the brain that are vital for memory processing. Unlike a temporary episode of memory loss called transient global amnesia, amnesia can also be permanent. So, on this part, we'll be asked then which part of the brain is affected. So, the part of the brain which is mainly damaged is the temporal lobe. So, what is a temporal lobe? Temporal lobe of your brain is a pair of areas of your brain's left and right. So, this area, which are inside your skull, near your temples and ears, play a role in managing your information, emotions, processing new information from your senses, storing and retrieving memories, and understanding language. So, what other parts of the brain might be affected by this syndrome? So, amnesia can result from damage to brain structure that form rather the limbic system, which controls emotions and memories. They include the thalamus, found deep within the center of the brain. They also include the hippocampal formations found within the temporal lobes of the brain.
The process through which the mind processes, stores, and retrieves information is known as memory. And there are three types in memory processing that helps to encode the memory for sufficient retrieval of it, or story. Sensory registered, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Sensory registered process of the memory is a process in which the brain obtains information from the environment. During this process, the brain passively gathers information through visual and auditory cues, known as iconic and echoic memory. Meanwhile, in the process of short-term memory, it occurs in two parts, traditionally termed short-term memory and the working memory. In this process, the brain stores information temporarily so that it can be repeated, but it is like what its name states, it's only available for a short period of time. While short-term memory is quickly forgotten, attending to the information gathered in the memory can help it to transfer to long-term memory. Long-term memory is a process in which it allows the information to remain in the brain for a longer period of time and sometimes for a lifetime. When long-term memory forms the hippocampus of the brain, retrieves information from the short-term memory or the working memory and begin to change the brain physical neural wherein this new connection between neurons and synapses stays as long as they remain in use. But the exact description of how it is happening remains controversial. The 51st Date movie contains far more detailed information than most viewers realize. For example, the movie asserts that Lucy has Goldfield syndrome, but it's only fictional concept from the movie. However, her condition in real life has similarity with the condition called anterograde amnesia. Anterograde amnesia is a type of memory loss that occurs when an individual cannot form new memories, and in severe cases, permanently loses the ability to learn or retain new information, just like what Lucy suffered from the movie. The film is light-threatened romantic comedy, but if you are familiar with the basic psychology terms and neuroscience, there is a lot in the film about the brain, memory, psychology, and motivation. Our brain is the most significant and most complex part of the human body. This organ is the core of intelligence, sense interpreter, initiator of the body movement, behavior controller, coordinates the system and organ in our body and everything that keeps us well and alive. Brain is the powerhouse, the primary and the main of the body along with the health and support of our other vital organs. Making it the most important part of our body, the protective layer of the brain explains itself on how frail it is, protecting it from any potential harm and danger that would obstruct its homeostasis without without it working simple. It is called for death. A minor, even minimal damage of any area in the brain creates significant impact of deviation not only to our brain but to our overall being that cause to change the trajectory of how we live. A damage in the brain is still able to save and cure, therefore, it does not guarantee that the person who endured an injury or impairment will live will live their life how it used to be.